Yeah. How do you know God's even real?
Well, there's external things and there's internal things. So, like on my YouTube channel a couple years ago, I debated an atheist, and we looked at external things like logic and argumentation and the law of rational. Like one example would be every cause has an effect, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, maybe. I'll grant you that.
And so we looked at different things. Like there's also called an argument of the designer. Okay, so you can see my watch right here.
Yep.
And so we understand that the watch did not design itself. There's ultimately a designer. And so I live in Tennessee, and you can look out over the hills of Tennessee and you can see the trees, the grass, how even the air is made up of so many different parts of different gases that sustain life. And if any of those were altered to even a small degree, even the distance of the moon from the earth would even throw us into a an atmosphere where you couldn't even sustain life through the ocean, the currents, and all of this stuff. So there's external things as we look at even science,
Wait,
and then
can I address some of those things?
yeah,
Because I have a lot of questions. As far as the watch thing goes, I think that's pretty silly because we know that watches are man-made. But you're applying that same reasoning of just because watches are man-made, that means everything that we see has a designer. In terms of the argument from design, you still have to show that you have reason to think, you have to argue that God is the one that designed everything. In terms of everything being so perfect, well, of course, we're products of our environment. An analogy for this is think of a puddle filling up a hole, and the puddle says, this hole is so perfect for me. It couldn't be any other way. Um, we're products of our environment. The argument from design, I think, is really difficult because you do a lot of question begging, and we know that watches are made, so therefore everything has to be made. Still have to back that up. We know
okay.
watches are made because we know watches are man-made. We have evidence for them being designed. So how do
Okay,
you know that God designed everything?
okay. So let me ask you this though. So are you claiming to be a skeptic or an atheist?
I have no good reason to believe in God, but I just asked you a question. How do we know that God designed everything?
Because it's called a law of being rational. So let me ask you this: is it rational
Wait, but
to
how do we know that God does? You can't just say you're basically just saying, oh, it's common sense, but you haven't provided how you know that it's rational. So how do you know it's rational?
Yeah, I'm trying to do that by asking you, do you actually believe all of this stuff came from nothing? So there was nothing that created nothing.
Yeah. So a question isn't an argument. Do you have an argument?
Yeah, it is. It's a question. Yeah, it's an argument. We do it all the time. Do
No,
you
a
have kids?
question is not an argument. You can look this up. This is just not how language works. An argument is a statement. It's a proposition. In no part of an argument does it include a question.
So are you arguing with me?
I don't mean argument in the sense that we're yelling at each other. I just mean argument in the sense of a line of reasoning that we can use to conclude something.
Okay. Are you trying to do that with me? Are you trying to have a line of reasoning with me?
Well, yeah, you said that you had a rational reason to think that God designed everything, so I'm curious what that rational reason is.
But you're trying to reason with me through asking me a question. So you self-contradicted yourself in this
No, because
discussion.
you said that I didn't. I'm asking you a question. I am openly asking you a question,
You're
and
asking me a question.
you said that you had a rational argument for how you know God designed everything. So I want to know what that is.
You're asking me a question, and you're trying to use that as a line of argumentation, and you turned around and told me that I can't ask a question to reason with a line of argument. You're contradicting
Oh no, sorry, I got
yourself.
you. Yeah, so
That's what.
you're just misunderstanding a little.
Yeah. No, there's no reason to keep going. See, what I'm saying? When an atheist thinks they're so smart and intelligent, you can't ask a question because that's not reasoning with a line of argument. That's not how language works. And then he turns around and is asking me a question to try to reason about disproving God. I'm not having time with that. It's President's Day. I'm not spending my whole time discussing someone when they're shown that they're already in a contradiction. They believe that nothing, that all of this stuff came from nothing. That's irrational. He can try to say that it's a silly argument of the watch, but he is saying that the trees in Tennessee just came from something that didn't even exist. There was no creator in it. And then gets on to me for asking him questions. Why is that? Because atheists don't like questions. See, a lot of times Jesus, when he was teaching, he asked questions because you turn it around on them and you see where they're coming from. They can sustain no argumentation. They don't. And so we can go back, and I may put that one on my YouTube about how an atheist contradicts himself and he's trying to use questions for a logical argument. And I have some good arguments for him, but he doesn't want to answer anything. Again,